Here we go again, once again doing what this channel is infamous for, complaining about Atlus. So with Persona 5 The Royal being just around the corner in Japan, we've expectedly been getting more and more info from Atlus. But there's something that's been bothering me about it, partly because it isn't bothering anyone else. What I'm talking about is the way Atlus is handling DLC for Persona 5 The Royal. This is a video I've been debating making for a while now, but with the recent Day 1 DLC information we have received about the game, I think something needs to be said about this. Recently, thanks to Persona Central, we were given a full list of what sort of Day 1 DLC will be available for Persona 5 The Royal, including some Strange Journey Redux costumes. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty cool, and it certainly is tempting. But the problem is that this, along with most of the other Day 1 DLC, is going to cost money. I mean, Day 1 DLC is bad enough, but keep in mind that Persona 5 The Royal is a re-release of a 3-year-old game, that, knowing Atlus, is probably going to cost $60. Now, to be fair, what P5R is doing isn't as bad as what a lot of Western publishers are doing, turning their games into literal casinos or charging $100 subscription services for games that aren't even complete, but that's the problem. Because things have gotten so much worse, we've fooled ourselves into thinking stuff like Day 1 DLC is acceptable because it's not as bad as what other people are doing. Taking content from a game and locking it behind a paywall, no matter how you do it, is anti-consumer, and nobody deserves a free pass, not even Atlus, especially with the ridiculous prices they're charging. And the thing is, this isn't the first time Atlus has been kinda scummy with their DLC either. Just last month, we had Catherine Full Body release in the West. That had Day 1 DLC that totaled $30. And keep in mind that Catherine Full Body is another re-release that Atlus charged $60 for. But the worst part is that Full Body didn't really add that much by itself, at least not enough to warrant a $60 price tag if you already played the original version, in my opinion. I mean, heck, even the original Persona 5 had some pretty crappy DLC. Some of the DLC was free, but most of the good DLC wasn't, like the Megaten costumes and battle themes, which were $7 a set. Yeah, $7. That's more than a tenth of the price for the base game. Plus, there's the additional Personas being $3 each. Well, if you want to buy all of the DLC as a bundle, you can buy the costume DLC right now for $60 on the PlayStation Network. That's 3 times as much as the base game. Oh, and the Persona bundle is $20. That's the same price as the base game. Oh, and don't even get me started on the Ultimate Edition. The game bundled with all the DLC combined. Right now, it's $85 on the PlayStation Store, which is still pretty bad, but when it released, it was $125. But I think the absolute worst handling of DLC from Atlus is Persona 3 and 5 Dancing. Now, if you saw my Megaten Games tier list, you would know that I had those games on the very bottom, and it wasn't because those games were broken or buggy or anything, it was because of the way they were marketed. A game that could have easily been a single package, instead being split apart and released as 2 $60 games. However, if you wanted both, there was a crappy $100 special edition that came with an art book, which I put in quotes because it was actually just a case with a couple of pages, which looks kinda misleading by the advertising, and you could also get a code for the PS4 version of Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Sounds good, right? Well, this is actually the only way you could get Persona 4 Dancing All Night on the PS4. Yeah, locking an entire game behind an expensive special edition. That's exactly what Activision did with Modern Warfare Remastered, except that eventually got a standalone release, which I seriously doubt is going to happen with Dancing All Night. But it doesn't stop there. To get all the extra content with those games, you would need to spend upwards of $85 on the game's 4 season passes. So in total, if you want the complete Persona Dancing package, you have to pay upwards of $185. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that the DLC for Dancing All Night isn't included, so you have to buy that again too, even if you bought it on the Vita. Well, for a game to demand $185 of your hard-earned dollars, it's gotta be good, right? Not really. The game just wasn't that good. It felt like a watered-down version of Dancing All Night with less content. I don't know what it is with Atlus that made them become so greedy, but I think the worst part is that not a lot of people are complaining about this. In fact, I've actually seen a few people defending it. The most common defense I see being, you don't have to buy the DLC to enjoy the game. You're right, and I probably won't buy it. But if it's available from day one, that tells me it was developed along with the game, but instead of being included, it was stripped from it and then sold separately to make an extra quick buck. I mean, you didn't see this sort of thing 10 to 15 years ago. Can you imagine having to pay to fight Demi-Fiend in Digital Devil Saga, or Dante in Nocturne? Is this sort of thing really something we want to support? If we blindly consume the product and don't complain, Atlus is going to think that this is acceptable, and their DLC is going to get worse and worse. In fact, if you compare it to what they were doing way back when with Shin Megami Tensei 4 having to pay anywhere from $1 to $3 for its bonus content, it didn't seem that bad at the time, but look where we are now. I don't want anyone to think that I'm complaining because I have some kind of vendetta against Atlus. I'm doing it because I like them. Atlus has given me some of my favorite games of all time, and I mean it when I say that they're a great company. It's because I like them that I don't want to see them fall down the path of becoming anti-consumer like Konami. Now, as far as Persona 5 The Royal by itself being worth it or not, I can't say for sure. I mean, I'm not sure how to feel about a game being re-released for full price after just 3 years on the same console, but for all we know, the new content can make it more than worth the price. I will say that I am excited for The Royal though. Personally, I thought there were a lot of problems that could have been ironed over in Persona 5, and I see The Royal as a perfect opportunity to fix those issues while also introducing more content. So I'm not going to make any judgments about The Royal just yet. I'm going to wait for it to come out, but I will say I'm pretty disappointed with the way Atlus has been handling their recent DLC, and I really don't want to see this trend continue or get worse. I'm not saying we should boycott The Royal, just don't buy this DLC. Don't let Atlus think that this type of thing is okay. Anyways, guys, that is it for this video. Be sure to tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of the DLC. Do you think it should be free? Do you think it's a little too pricey? Or do you think it's just fine? And what do you think of the DLC itself? Till next time, I will see you guys later.